So hey guys, this is your favorite fictional vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the Primal Dragon Ranger, the true master of Dino RGY Naruto x Kira Ford x Elsa Power Rangers Dino Thunder. But before we start, remember to subscribe and like this video. Now let's start. Chapter 1. Dimensional Disruption. The air crackled with an unnatural electricity, sending ripples across the fabric of reality itself. Naruto Uzumaki stood at the edge of the forest clearing, his blonde hair whipping wildly in the sudden wind that had materialized from nowhere. 6 months had passed since the end of the 4th grade ninja war, and the world had slowly begun to heal, but this disturbance was unlike anything he'd felt before. "Whatever you are," he muttered, crouching into a defensive stance, "you picked the wrong shinobi to mess with today." The anomaly pulsed before him, a tear in reality that shimmered with iridescent energy. Neither genjutsu nor any chakra technique he recognized. As a newly promoted Jonin tasked with investigating strange occurrences near the village borders, Naruto had expected to find perhaps a rogue ninja or an unusual natural phenomenon. What he hadn't anticipated was a swirling vortex that seemed to bend light itself, growing larger with each passing second. Naruto formed the familiar cross seal with his fingers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Instantly, 3 perfect copies materialized beside him in puffs of smoke, each bearing his determined expression. "You two, head back to the village and alert Kakashi-sensei," he commanded, gesturing to 2 of his clones. "The rest of us will investigate." The clones nodded and leapt away through the trees while Naruto and his remaining duplicate approached the anomaly cautiously. The original Naruto closed his eyes, drawing on the natural energy around him. The familiar sensation of sage mode washed over him as orange pigmentation formed around his eyes, enhancing his sensory abilities. What he felt nearly knocked him off his feet. "This energy," he whispered, "it's ancient. Older than chakra itself." The remaining clone moved forward with a kunai drawn. But as it approached the distortion, the vortex pulsed violently. Tendrils of energy lashed out, dispersing the clone instantly and reaching for Naruto himself. Not good. Naruto leapt backward, but the tendrils pursued him with unerring precision. Despite his enhanced speed in sage mode, the energy wrapped around his ankles, yanking him forward with irresistible force. "What the hell is?" His words cut off as the vortex expanded suddenly, engulfing him in blinding light. Naruto felt his body being stretched and compressed simultaneously, his consciousness scattered across what seemed like infinite space yet concentrated to a single point. Chakra roared through his system in response to the invasion, his body instinctively drawing on the 9 tails power as golden energy flared around him. "Kurama," he called mentally to his tailed beast companion. "What's happening?" The fox's voice came distorted, as though speaking through water. "Something is pulling us across dimensions. This is beyond even my power to resist." For what felt like both an eternity and an instant, Naruto existed between worlds, until suddenly, violently, he was elsewhere. He impact with solid ground forced the air from his lungs. Naruto rolled instinctively, coming up in a defensive crouch as his eyes darted around, assessing his new surroundings. Gone was the familiar forest of the Land of Fire. Instead, he found himself in a clearing bordered by unfamiliar trees, beside a paved road unlike anything in the 5 great nations. "Where am I?" he muttered, his enhanced senses picking up strange scents and sounds, mechanical noises, artificial materials, and peculiar energies permeating everything. "I don't know." Kurama's voice resonated within him, clearer and but tinged with uncharacteristic uncertainty. "But this isn't our world, kid. The energy here is different, yet somehow familiar." Naruto was about to respond when his heightened senses detected movement, fast approaching figures. 3 of them, moving with trained precision. He concealed himself in the branches of a nearby tree, suppressing his chakra signature as he observed. 3 young people emerged into the clearing, 2 males and a female. They wore civilian clothes but moved with the coordination of a practiced team. The girl particularly caught his attention, slender with caramel-colored hair that framed a face set in determined concentration, her movements suggesting both strength and agility. The 2 young men flanked her, one in blue with dark skin and serious eyes, the other in red with a confident stance that reminded Naruto vaguely of Sasuke. The energy signature spiked right here, the girl said, consulting a small device in her hand. Whatever came through, it should be close. You think it's one of Mesogog's experiments? The young man in red asked, scanning the area. I don't know, Connor, she replied. Haley said the readings were unlike anything she's seen before. Well, whatever it is, Kira, we better find it before it causes trouble, the third team member added, adjusting what appeared to be glasses. Naruto tensed as the girl, Kira, suddenly stopped and tilted her head. Her eyes narrowing as she gazed directly toward his hiding place. There's something in that tree, she said softly. Before her companions could respond, a new disto. RTION ripped through the air several yards away, drawing everyone's attention. The tear in reality wasn't as large as the one that had brought Naruto here, but it pulsed with the same iridescent energy. From this new portal emerged creatures that made Naruto's blood run cold, reptilian humanoids with scales and claws, their bodies seemingly fused with armor of an organic nature. They moved with predatory grace, hissing and clicking in a language unlike any Naruto had encountered. Tyrannodrones. The young man in red, Connor, shouted. But something's different about them. Naruto observed with growing concern as the creatures' bodies pulsed with an energy he recognized immediately, chakra, or something remarkably similar, flowing through their bodies in unnatural patterns. They're enhanced somehow, the girl, Kira, noted as she dropped into a fighting stance. Ready. The three nodded to each other and, to Naruto's surprise, called out in unison, Dino Thunder, power up. In a flash of light and energy, the three were transformed. Where civilian clothes had been, they now wore form-fitting suits in red, blue, and yellow, with helmets resembling different dinosaur species. The transformation radiated a power that resonated oddly with Naruto's chakra, causing a peculiar tingling sensation throughout his body. That energy, Kurama growled within him. It's primitive, ancient, yet evolved differently from chakra. Be cautious, Naruto. The three transformed warriors engaged the reptilian creatures in combat. Despite their impressive skills and enhanced abilities, Naruto could see they were struggling against the chakra-infused enemies. The creatures moved faster, hit harder, and seemed to anticipate attacks with unnatural precision. When one of the monsters launched a blast of energy that knocked the yellow-suited warrior, Kira, backward into a tree with enough force to crack the trunk, Naruto made his decision. So much for staying hidden, he muttered, forming a familiar hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 5 clones materialized around him as he leapt from his hiding place, landing between the fallen yellow warrior and the advancing monsters. The sudden appearance of multiple identical blondes in orange and black garb momentarily halted both sides of the conflict. What the red warrior began. Questions later, Naruto cut him off. 2-0. His clones already moving to help Kira to her feet while the others spread out in defensive positions. These things are using chakra somehow, and that's my specialty. Without waiting for a response, Naruto and his clones engaged the creatures. Years of combat experience against some of the most dangerous shinobi in his world made these reptilian opponents predictable by comparison, despite their enhancements. He weaved between their attacks, his clones coordinating with practiced precision to divide and conquer. Rasengan. One of Naruto's clones shouted, driving a spiraling sphere of chakra into the chest of a creature, sending it flying backward where it dissolved into greenish particles. The 3 armored warriors stared in momentary shock before rejoining the battle with renewed vigor. Whoever you are, the blue warrior called out as he fought alongside one of Naruto's clones, thanks for the assist. Naruto nodded acknowledgement while analyzing the fight pattern of the yellow warrior, Kira. Despite her earlier setback, she moved with determined grace, her fighting style combining formal technique with creative improvisation. When 3 creatures surrounded her, Naruto jumped to her aid. Duck, he warned. When she instantly complied without question, a testament to her battlefield awareness, Naruto spun above her with a chakra-enhanced kick that caught all 3 monsters in a sweeping arc. Nice move, she commented as she regained her footing. I'm Kira, by the way. Naruto, he replied with a quick grin, already moving to engage the next opponent. Let's finish this first, then we can do proper introductions. As the battle progressed, the strange resonance between Naruto's chakra and the energy these warriors wielded grew stronger. Each time they fought near each other, Naruto felt his chakra responding, adapting, as though recognizing something familiar in the power they called upon. The skirmish reached its climax when the largest of the Yours, apparently their leader, gathered dark energy into its clawed hands and prepared to unleash it in a devastating wave. "Everyone down!" Naruto shouted, his hands rapidly forming seals. As the three warriors dropped to the ground, Naruto stepped forward, his chakra surging. Wind style. Rasenshuriken. The spinning disk of wind nature chakra roared forward, cutting through the monster's attack and striking it directly. The resulting explosion of chakra enveloped the remaining creatures in a dome of destructive wind energy, shredding them at a cellular level before they could escape. When the light faded and the dust settled, Naruto stood alone amidst the aftermath, his clones having dissipated during the final attack. The three armored warriors approached cautiously, their body languor, suggesting both gratitude and wariness. "That was," the Red One began, "incredible. What was that technique?" More importantly, the Blue One interjected, "Who are you and where did you come from?" Kira, the Yellow Warrior, stepped forward and removed her helmet, revealing the face Naruto had glimpsed earlier, now looking at him with an intense curiosity that matched his own. "I think," she said, her eyes never leaving Naruto's, "we have a lot to talk about." Naruto nodded, the adrenaline of battle fading as the full reality of his situation began to sink in. He was in an unknown world, with no clear way back. Facing people and powers he didn't understand. "You have no idea," he replied with a wry smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Dr. Tommy Oliver had seen many extraordinary things in his life as a Power Ranger, but the readings on the monitor before him defied even his extensive experience. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our database," Haley Zichter said, her fingers flying across the keyboard in the underground Dino lab. "It's organic in nature, but with patterns similar to the morphing grid, yet different. More primal somehow. And this person, Naruto, manipulated this energy to create copies of himself and generate attacks?" Tommy asked, reviewing the footage captured by the Ranger's helmet cameras. "Not just manipulated it," Connor McKnight replied, still visibly impressed by what he'd witnessed. "He commanded it like it was an extension of himself. Doc, one of those energy spheres he created completely disintegrated a Tyrannodrome." Ethan James nodded emphatically. "And that last attack, it was like watching a miniature hurricane with laser precision." Tommy frowned thoughtfully, replaying the footage of Naruto's final attack. "And the Tyrannodromes were different too. Enhanced," Kira Ford confirmed, leaning against a nearby console. "Faster, stronger, and they seemed to be using a similar energy to what Naruto was using, though cruder. Less refined." The young woman had been uncharacteristically quiet since they had brought Naruto to the Dino lab. After determining he posed no immediate threat, and recognizing they needed to understand the dimensional rift that had brought him here, they had offered him temporary sanctuary while they assessed the situation. Currently, their visitor was in an adjacent room, resting and recovering from what appeared to be interdimensional travel exhaustion. Kira's gaze kept drifting toward the door separating them, her expression thoughtful. "What's on your mind, Kira?" Tommy asked, noting her distraction. She hesitated before responding. "There's something about him. When we were fighting together, it felt like our energies were resonating. Like his R and my Dino gem were recognizing each other." "That's consistent with what I'm seeing in these readings," Haley confirmed, bringing up a new set of data. "His energy, what he calls chakra, has harmonics that correspond to the fundamental frequency of the morphing grid, specifically the dinosaur-derived powers. Could he be from another dimension where the morphing grid evolved differently?" Ethan suggested, his scientific curiosity piqued. "It's possible," Tommy agreed. "The multiverse theory suggests infinite variations of reality. His world may have developed the energy we access through the morphing grid in an entirely different direction." The door to the adjacent room slid open, revealing their visitor. Naruto had declined their offer of alternate clothing, preferring his own orange and black attire that marked him as unmistakably foreign to their world. His posture was relaxed but alert, blue eyes taking in every detail of the technological command center with careful assessment. Your world is different, he said, approaching the central console. We have nothing like this in Konoha. Konoha? Tommy inquired. My village, Konohagakure, the village hidden in the leaves. One of the 5 great shinobi nations. Naruto paused, noting their blank expressions. Which clearly means nothing to any of you. Different worlds, right? That's our working theory, Haley confirmed. You were pulled through a dimensional rift into our reality. The question is why, and whether similar rifts will continue appearing. Naruto's expression grew serious. Those creatures. We fought. They had chakra flowing through them, but it was wrong somehow. Corrupted. We call them tyrannodrones, Connor explained. They're foot soldiers created by our enemy, Mesogog. But they've never had abilities like what we saw today. Someone in your world has figured out how to harness chakra, Naruto concluded grimly. That's not good. In my world, chakra is the energy that shinobi, ninja, train their entire lives to control. Ninja, Ethan repeated with barely contained excitement. Like, actual ninja. A smile ghosted across Naruto's face. Not like what you're probably thinking. We don't exactly wear black pajamas and sneak around all the time. He paused, reconsidering. Well, some do, but that's not the point. Hira approached him, her earlier reticence replaced by determined curiosity. You said you felt something during the battle, a resonance between your energy and ours. I felt it too. Naruto nodded, studying her with newfound interest. Your power has an ancient quality to it. It reminds me of the natural energy I draw on for Sage Mode, but with a different flavor. Our powers come from Dino gems, she explained, showing him the yellow stone embedded in her bracelet. They contain the essence of prehistoric dinosaurs, enhanced by the morphing grid, the energy field that powers all rangers. Rangers, Naruto repeated the unfamiliar term. That's what you call yourselves when you transform. Power Rangers, Connor confirmed with a hint of pride. Specifically, we're the Dino Thunder Rangers. Each of us has a specific dinosaur connection that grants us unique abilities. Naruto's brow furrowed in concentration. Dinosaurs. We have legends of giant lizards that once walked the earth, but nothing concrete. Yet when I felt your power, there was something familiar about it. Like my chakra recognized it somehow. That's consistent with our readings, Haley said, bringing up a comparative analysis on the main screen. Your energy, signature and the Dino gems show harmonic similarities at a fundamental level, despite the different manifestations. Tommy, who had been quietly observing the exchange, finally spoke. The question is whether this connection is coincidental, or if there's a reason you specifically were pulled through the dimensional rift. Naruto closed his eyes briefly, and those watching noticed a subtle NGE in his demeanor, an internal conversation happening beyond their perception. Kurama thinks it's not coincidence, Naruto finally said, opening eyes that now displayed a subtle orange tint to the irises. He says the energy here feels primordial, like it shares origins with chakra despite evolving differently. Kurama, Hira questioned, intrigued by both the name and the change in Naruto's eyes. Naruto hesitated, clearly deciding how much to reveal to these strangers. Kurama is a being of pure chakra who resides within me. In my world, he's known as the nine-tailed fox, one of 9 tailed beasts created from the primordial chakra of the 10 tails. The revelation brought a moment of stunned silence to the room. You have a sentient energy being inside you, Ethan finally asked, his voice a mixture of awe and scientific fascination. It's complicated, Naruto replied with a rueful smile. But we're partners now. His chakra enhances mine, and together we're stronger than either of us would be alone. Tommy and Haley exchanged significant looks. This information potentially changed everything about their understanding of the situation. If this Kurama entity ascends ITIVE to the primordial energies that connect our worlds, Tommy theorized, then that might explain why you specifically were drawn through the rift. But it doesn't explain who or what created the rift in the first place, Haley added. Or how Mesogog's forces acquired abilities similar to Naruto's chakra. As if in response to her words, an alarm blared throughout the Dino lab, and the scent RAL monitor switched to a live feed of downtown Reefside. Another dimensional tear had appeared, larger than before, and from it emerged not just enhanced tyrannodrones but a new figure, humanoid but clearly not human. with scales and reptilian features partially obscured by a flowing white robe. Mesogog, Connor identified grimly. But something's different about him too. Naruto studied the reptilian being on the screen, his expression darkening. That dark energy surrounding him, its corrupted chakra, similar to what I've encountered before. The creature called Mesogog raised clawed hands, drawing more power from the dimensional tear, his body growing more powerful with each pulse of energy. Citizens of Reefside, his raspy voice echoed through the city streets, amplified by unknown means. Your world now faces extinction at the hands of true power. The age of reptiles will rise again, enhanced by energies beyond your comprehension. We need to move, Tommy decided, stepping away from the console. Haley, continue analyzing the rift. Rangers, prepare for battle. I'm coming with you, Naruto stated firmly, his tone making it clear this wasn't a request. Tommy cons eyed the young shinobi for a moment before nodding. Your knowledge of this chakra energy might be our best advantage. But in our world, we need to be careful about civilian casualties and property damage. A shadow of pain crossed Naruto's features. I've seen enough destruction to last several lifetimes, believe me. I'll follow your lead. The Rangers moved toward their vehicles while Naruto watched with curiosity. How exactly do you get around in your world? Connor asked, noticing Naruto's bemused expression. A mischievous grin spread across the shinobi's face. Usually by running across rooftops. But I can keep up with whatever transportation you have. We'll see about that, Connor replied with a competitive smirk. The raptor cycles aren't exactly slow. Minutes later, Naruto found himself running alongside 3 motorcycle-like vehicles as they raced toward downtown Reefside, his chakra-enhanced speed allowing him to match their pace with apparent ease. Kira, riding her yellow raptor cycle, kept glancing at their unusual ally with growing interest. There was something compelling about the blonde shinobi that went beyond his unusual abilities or his status as a dimensional visitor. A natural confidence radiated from him, yet without the arrogance that often accompanied such self-assurance. His eyes held both the weight of someone who had seen true conflict and an irrepressible spark of determination. As they approached the city center, the dimensional tear came into view, a massive rip in the fabric of reality that pulsed with chaotic energy. Mesogog stood before it, surrounded by dozens of enhanced tyrannodrones, all drawing power from the rift. Remember, Tommy's voice came through their helmet communicators as he joined them from another direction. Our priority is containing the rift and minimizing damage. We need to understand what we're dealing with. The Rangers stopped their vehicles at a safe distance, dismounting to assess the situation. Naruto landed beside them, his expression serious as he studied the rift. That tear is unstable, he observed, his eyes shifting to the orange-rimmed pattern of Sage Mode as he sensed the energy flows. It's pulling energy from both our worlds, growing stronger with each passing moment. Can you close it? Tommy asked. Naruto shook his head, not without understanding what created it in the first place. But I might be able to disrupt the energy flow that Mesogog is channeling. Before they could formulate a plan, Mesogog noticed their arrival. Ah, Rangers, the reptilian villain hissed, his voice distorted by the dark energy surrounding him. And you've brought the dimensional anomaly with you. Excellent. How do you know about me? Naruto called out, stepping forward. Me. Sogog's lipless mouth formed what might have been a smile. Let's just say I have a new partner who is quite familiar with your capabilities. As if on cue, another figure stepped through the dime. Nsional Tear, a human with silver hair and glasses, wearing a purple-trimmed outfit unlike anything from either world, a combination of modern scientific apparel and traditional garments. Naruto's expression hardened with recognition. Kabuto. The newcomer adjusted his glasses with a smirk. Naruto-kun, how unexpected to find you here. When I detected the dimensional disturbance, I had no idea it would lead me straight to you. You know this guy? Connor asked, tensing for battle. Kabuto Yakushi, Naruto confirmed grimly. A dangerous shinobi from my world, and apparently the one who's been teaching Mesogog about chakra. Kabuto's smirk widened. Such accusations. I merely offered my scientific expertise to a like-minded researcher. Mesogog's ambition to return this world to the age of dinosaurs aligns well with my own evolutionary interests. Enough talk, Mesogog snarled, raising a clawed hand. Destroy them. The enhanced Tyrannodrones surged forward in a coordinated attack while Mesogog and Kabuto remained by the dimensional rift, drawing more power from it. Rangers, handle the Tyrannodrones, Tommy ordered, activating his Brachio staff. Naruto and I will try to reach Mesogog and Kabuto. The battle erupted across the city square. Connor's super speed allowed him to weave between enemies, striking with precision. Ethan's armored skin deflected attacks while he countered with powerful blows. Kira's Terra scream sent waves of enemies flying backward. Naruto created a dozen shadow clones that joined the fray, supporting each ranger with tactics that complemented their fighting styles. The original Naruto and Tommy fought side by side, pushing through the defensive line toward the rift. "Your fighting style is impressive," Tommy commented as they moved in sync, covering each other's blind spots instinctively. "How long have you been training?" "Since I was about 6, Naruto replied, ducking under a Tyrannodrone's swipe before countering with an uppercut. "Though most of it was learning through trial, error, and getting my ass kicked repeatedly." Tommy chuckled despite the situation. "Sounds familiar. Sometimes the best lessons come from failure." As they neared the rift, Kabuto stepped forward to intercept them, his hands glowing with chakra. "I'll handle him," Naruto assured Tommy. "Focus on Mesogog and the rift." "Be careful," Tommy warned. "We still don't know the full extent of how our world's energies interact." Naruto nodded and faced his old enemy. "What are you really after, Kabuto?" "The war is over. Orochimaru is gone." "Oh, Naruto-kun." Kabuto sighed with mock disappointment. "Always so focused on the past. This new world offers unprecedented opportunities for research. Imagine combining dinosaur DNA with chakra ways. The evolutionary possibilities are endless. And I'm guessing you don't care how many people get hurt in your experiments," Naruto replied coldly, forming a Rasengan in his palm. Kabuto's hands flashed through seals. "Sacrifices are necessary for progress. Isn't that what the shinobi world taught us?" Their clash sent shockwaves across the battlefield, chakra against chakra in a display of power that momentarily drew all eyes. Meanwhile, across the square, Kira found herself surrounded by Tyrannodrones. Despite her combat skills, their enhanced abilities made them formidable opponents in numbers. As one creature prepared to strike from her blind spot, a flash of orange intervened, one of Naruto's clones deflecting the attack before it could connect. "Thought you could use a hand," the clone said with a grin that matched the original's. "Thanks," she replied, standing back to back with him as more enemies approached. "These things are tougher than usual. They're using chakra inefficiently," the clone observed. "Powerful but uncontrolled. We can use that against them." Working in tandem, Kira and the Naruto clone developed an impromptu strategy. She would use her Terra Scream to disorient the creatures, and he would follow with precise chakra strikes to disrupt their energy flow. "You know," Kira commented between attacks, "for someone who just fell into our world today, you adapt pretty quickly." The clone shrugged. "When you grow up as a ninja, you either learn to adapt or you don't survive long. Besides," he added with a smile that seemed genuinely warm despite the chaos around them, "working with talented teammates makes it easier." The compliment, delivered without pretense or ulterior motive, caught Kira momentarily off guard. In her experience, Saint guys her age either ignored her talents or felt threatened by them. This simple acknowledgement was refreshing. Near the dimensional rift, Tommy engaged Mesogog in fierce combat, his Brachio staff clashing against the villain's energy-enhanced claws. Despite his years of experience, Tommy found himself on the defensive against Mesogog's augmented power. "You feel it, don't you, Drive Oliver?" Mesogog taunted as their weapons locked. "The primordial energy that flows through both our worlds. It has always been meant for the dinosaurs, not for mammals like you." "That energy belongs to no one," Tommy countered, breaking the lock with a spinning kick. "And certainly not to someone who would use it to harm others." Mesogog laughed, a chilling sound from his reptilian throat. "Harm. I offer evolution, transformation, the next step in Earth's destiny." As their battle continued, Naruto and Kabuto's clash intensified. Chakra techniques from the shinobi world manifested in spectacular fashion: water dragons, earth walls, and lightning strikes that the Rangers had never witnessed before. "Your connection to this world's energy is fascinating," Kabuto observed, evading a Rasengan that cratered the ground where he had stood. I can sense it resonating with your chakra, changing it. I wonder what would happen if I studied you more thoroughly. Not happening, Naruto growled, forming the cross seal again. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Dozens of Naruto clones materialized, surrounding Kabuto from all angles. The silver-haired shinobi merely smiled, performing a complex sequence of hand seals. Impure World Resurrection. Fossil variant. The ground beneath them trembled as skeletal forms began to rise. Not human, but dinosaur, their bones animated by a sickly green chakra that resembled neither the pure energy of the Rangers nor Naruto's golden chakra. What the hell? Naruto muttered, watching in horror as the skeletal dinosaurs assembled themselves, flesh and scales, forming over bone through some perverse combination of jutsu and this world's science. Fascinating, isn't it? Kabuto adjusted his glasses with evident pride. The DNA of extinct creatures preserved in fossils, reanimated through a modified version of the jutsu Orochimaru Sama developed. This world's resources have such potential. The reanimated dinosaurs, smaller velociraptors and a medium-sized allosaur, roared with unnatural voices before charging into battle, targeting Naruto's clones with predatory precision. Across the battlefield, the Rangers witnessed this new development with alarm. Are those zombie dinosaurs? Ethan asked incredulously. Whatever they are, they're heading this way, Connor responded, bracing himself as one of the velociraptors changed direction to attack him. Kira found herself face to face with another of the reanimated creatures, its movements unnervingly fluid despite its undead nature. Her terror scream seemed less effective against it than against the Tyrannodrones. The sound waves passing through its partially materialized form without causing significant damage. Physical attacks don't work well either, she called out after her terror grips barely slowed the creature. It's like fighting a ghost with substance. One of Naruto's clones appeared beside her, studying the creature with narrowed eyes. It's similar to the Edo Tensei technique from my world, reanimated bodies that can regenerate from damage. In our world, they can only be defeated by sealing them away or by the caster releasing the technique. We don't exactly carry sealing scrolls, Kira replied wryly, dodging a slashing claw. Maybe not, the clone said thoughtfully, but your power has similarities to Fuinjutsu, sealing techniques, that I can sense. If we combine our energies. The clone reached out his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Kira took it, and immediately felt a surge of energy unlike anything she had experienced before. Naruto's chakra flowed into her, harmonizing with her Dino gem power, enhancing it and directing it. Now, the clone instructed, use your scream again, but focus it like you're trying to contain rather than destroy. Kira unleashed her terror scream, but this time the sonic waves manifested differently, visible yellow energy interwoven with threads of Naruto's blue chakra, encircling the reanimated velociraptor in constrictive bands. The creature thrashed against its bonds, but the energy tightened until the dinosaur collapsed into dust, the animation technique disrupted. It worked, Kira exclaimed, momenta, wryly breathless from the effort and the unfamiliar energy that had coursed through her. The clone grinned, your dinosaur power and my chakra resonate on a fundamental level. I think there's a connection between our worlds that goes deeper than we realized. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as Naruto's clones helped each ranger discover ways to combine their unique abilities with chakra to counter the undead dinosaurs. Connor's super speed, enhanced by chakra, allowed him to create vacuum effects that disrupted the creature's cohesion. Ethan's defensive abilities, merged with Earth-Nature chakra, created a grounding effect that drained the animation energy. The original Naruto, still engaged with Kabuto, noticed these successful collaborations with satisfaction. However, his enemy was far from defeated. Your teamwork is impressive, Kabuto acknowledged, but ultimately futile. The dimensional rift continues to grow more unstable. Soon, it will expand beyond anyone's control, merging portions of our worlds in chaotic patterns. Then why are you helping it? Naruto demanded, gathering chakra for another attack. Even you can't control that kind of dimensional collapse. Kabuto's smile turned enigmatic. Who said anything about controlling it? Chaos yields the most interesting research data, after all. Before Naruto could respond, a massive surge of energy erupted from the rift. temporarily blinding everyone present. When vision cleared, the rift had expanded significantly, its edges fluctuating wildly as reality itself seemed to warp around it. "The rift is destabilizing," Tommy shouted, breaking away from his fight with Mesogog. "If it collapses completely, both our dimensions could be irreparably damaged." Mesogog snarled in frustration. "This was not part of our agreement. Kabuto, you promised controlled power, not dimensional catastrophe." "Plans change," Kabuto replied dismissively. "Besides, the data from this event will be invaluable." Naruto, seeing the growing danger, made a quick decision. "Rangers, we need to combine our powers to stabilize the rift." "How?" Connor called back, dispatching a final Tyrannodrome. "Form a circle around the rift," Naruto instructed, moving into position. "Your dinosaur energy and my chakra might be able to create a resonance that counteracts the instability." The Rangers exchanged glances before nodding in agreement. They moved into position, forming a pentagon around the dimensional tear with Naruto at one point. Mesogog and Kabuto, recognizing the potential threat to their plans, moved to intercept, but found themselves blocked by Naruto's remaining clones. "Focus your power inward," Naruto called out, entering Sage mode to better direct the energy flows. "Don't try to close the rift. That might make it collapse faster. Instead, imagine stabilizing it, like freezing a wave in mid-motion." The Rangers activated their Dino gems to maximum power, channels of colored energy extending from each of them toward the center. Naruto added his own chakra to the mix, golden energy interwoven with threads of the Nine Tails red chakra, creating a complex latticework that encompassed the dimensional tier. As their energies merged, something unexpected happened. The rift's chaotic fluctuations began to slow, but simultaneously, Naruto felt a new power awakening within him, a resonance between his chakra and the primordial dinosaur energy that permeated this world. His body glowed with an aura that shifted between his familiar golden chakra and something older, more primal, scales momentarily appearing on his skin before fading, his eyes taking on a reptilian aspect. "What's happening to him?" Ethan asked, maintaining his position despite his concern. Kira, whose positio N in the pentagon placed her closest to Naruto, saw the transformation with widening eyes. "It's like the dinosaur energy is responding to him specifically. Like it recognizes him somehow." Within Naruto's mindscape, Kurama observed these changes with interest. "This energy, it's older than even the Sage of Six Paths era. Primordial, from when the world was young. Your chakra is adapting to it, assimilating it. Is that good or bad?" Naruto asked mentally. "Neither. Or both. The fox replied cryptically. "But it may be the key to stabilizing this situation." Back in the physical world, Naruto channeled this new, combined energy directly into the rift. The dimensional tier responded, its edges becoming more defined, its chaotic pulses regularizing into a steady rhythm. "It's working," Tommy called out. "The rift is stabilizing." Mesogog, seeing his plans unraveling, broke through the clone defenses and charged toward Naruto, claws extended. "You will not interfere with evolution's path." Without breaking his concentration on the rift, Naruto sensed the attack coming. In a fluid motion that surprised even himself, he shifted slightly, one hand maintaining energy flow while the other intercepted Mesogog's strike. Where their energies connected, a reaction occurred, Naruto's combined chakra and dinosaur energy overwhelming and purging the corrupted version that Mesogog had been channeling. The reptilian villain screamed in pain and rage as the dark energy was forcibly extracted from his system, leaving him temporarily weakened. Kabuto, seeing this unexpected development and calculating that the situation no longer favored his research, began performing hand seals for a teleportation jutsu. "This isn't over, Naruto-kun," he called out as his body began to shimmer. "There are more rifts forming, more worlds connecting. We'll meet again when the circumstances are more favorable." Before anyone could stop him, Kabuto vanished in a swirl of chakra smoke, presumably returning through another, smaller rift to the shinobi world. With one enemy gone and the other incapacitated, the Rangers and Naruto focused fully on stabilizing the dimensional tier. Gradually, the wild energy fluctuations ceased, the rift contracting to a manageable size, its edges clearly defined instead of chaotically shifting. "We've done it," Tommy announced as He energy flow between them and the rift achieved equilibrium. It's stable, at least for now. Naruto nodded, though he didn't release his connection to the energy. Stable but not closed. I don't think we can close it completely without risking a collapse. So what does that mean? Connor asked, powering down as the immediate danger passed. It means, Tommy answered thoughtfully, that our worlds remain connected. At least through this portal. And possibly others, if what Kabuto said is true. Mesogog, recovering his strength but recognizing he was outmatched, backed away from the group. This temporary setback changes nothing, he hissed. The age of mammals is ending, one way or another. With a final glare, the villain teleported away in a flash of green energy, leaving the Ran. Gers and Naruto alone with the now stabilized rift. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Naruto felt the unfamiliar energy that had awakened within him settle into a dormant state, integrated with his chakra system but no longer actively manifesting. He looked down at his hands, seeing no physical changes but feeling fundamentally different nonetheless. Are you okay? Kira asked, approaching him with genuine concern. That was intense. Naruto offered a tired smile. Yeah, just processing what happened. That dinosaur energy. It felt like it was always a part of me somehow, just waiting to be awakened. Tommy, who had been examining the stabilized rift, turned to face them. I think we need to get back to the lab and figure out exactly what's happening. This connection between our world, DS and between Naruto and our dinosaur powers isn't coincidence. What about the rift? Ethan asked. We can't just leave a dimensional portal open in downtown Reefside. I'll contact Haley, Tommy decided. We'll need to establish a containment field around it until we better understand how to handle it properly. As they prepared to leave, Kira found herself walking alongside Naruto. The Blonde shinobi moved with a thoughtful expression, occasionally glancing back at the dimensional rift with a mixture of emotions crossing his features. Having second thoughts about helping us? She asked softly. Naruto shook his head. No, it was the right thing to do. I'm just wondering. That rift is my only way home, but closing it might endanger both our worlds. We'll figure it out, Kira assured him, surprised by her own certainty. Between your abilities and our technology, there has to be a solution. Naruto met her gaze, a genuine smile replacing his worried expression. You know, where I come from. We have a saying. Where there's a will of fire, there's a way forward. I like that, Kira replied with a smile of her own. In our world, we just say, Rangers never give up. As they rejoined the others, Naruto felt a strange sense of connection, not just to the primordial energy that had awakened within him, but to these people who had accepted him so readily despite his alien nature to their world. Whatever challenges lay ahead, at least he wouldn't face them alone. And somewhere deep within him, the ancient dinosaur energy that had responded to his chakra continued to adapt, to evolve. Preparing for a transformation that would reshape his understanding of both worlds forever. Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, Primal Awakening. Dawn broke over Reefside with a pale TTE of amber and gold that reminded Naruto of Konoha's sunrises. Standing on Dr. Oliver's porch, he inhaled deeply, cataloging the differences: cleaner air, fewer traces of wood smoke, strange chemical undertones he couldn't identify. 3 days in this new world, and everything still felt slightly off-kilter, like a genjutsu he couldn't dispel. Couldn't sleep again. Tommy's voice came from behind him. Naruto shook his head without turning. Shinobi training. We learn to function on minimal rest. A partial truth. The full version involved restless dreams filled with primordial jungles, massive-scaled beasts, and a power that called to him across eons. Since touching the dimensional rift, something had awakened inside him, dormant, yet stirring whenever he closed his eyes. Tommy joined him at the railing, offering a steaming mug. Coffee. Thanks. Naruto accepted the drink cautiously. The bitter liquid remained foreign to his palate, but its warmth and stimulating effects had proven useful. Any progress with the rift? Quote, Haley's been working around the clock. She's brilliant, but even she's struggling with interdimensional physics. Tommy sipped from his own mug, eyes scanning the forest surrounding his isolated home. How are you handling all this? The question's simplicity belied its complexity. How was he handling being stranded in a world where ninja were historical figures rather than military forces? Where technology replaced jutsu, where no one knew of the fourth Hokage or the nine-tailed fox? I've faced worse odds, Naruto replied with a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. At least no one's actively trying to extract Kurama from my body here. Tommy raised an eyebrow. That's happened often in your world. More than you'd think. The conversa. Chion lapsed into comfortable silence as sunlight filtered through the trees. Naruto appreciated Tommy's approach. Space when needed, support without pressure, practical help without pity. The man had he apparently mentored many young people before, and it showed. Kira's coming by this morning, Tommy mentioned casually. She volunteered to help you navigate town without incidents. Naruto winced, recalling yesterday's debacle at the local electronics store where he'd mistaken a security system for an enemy trap. Probably a good idea. She's good at explaining things without making you feel like you're missing something obvious. Tommy checked his watch. I've got a faculty meeting at the high school. Will you be all right until she arrives? I survived a world war. I think I can handle a few hours in your house without breaking anything else. His tone was light, but Tommy caught the shadow that crossed his features at the mention of war. The older man nodded. The remote control for the TV is labeled now. And please, don't try to make toast again, Naruto finished with a chagrined smile. I know. After Tommy departed, Naruto returned inside, surveying the living room with its unfamiliar devices. He'd mastered the basics. Light switches, door handles, the refrigerator, but more complex technologies remained mysterious. In his world, they had radios and basic electrical systems. But nothing like the computers, smartphones, and digital appliances that permeated this reality. You could always use this time to train, Kurama suggested within his mind. The fox been unusually alert since their arrival, fascinated by this world's different energy patterns. Good idea. Moving to the clearing behind Tommy's house, Naruto settled into a cross-legged position, centering his breathing. Chakra flowed through his pathways as he entered a meditative state, but instead of the familiar blue energy, flickers of something else manifested, amber gold strands interwoven with his natural chakra. Responding to his focus. What is this? He murmured, examining the phenomenon. It's primitive energy, Kurama responded. Older than chakra as we know it. Raw, untamed, yet somehow aligned with your natural affinity. Naruto extended his senses, following these strange energy threads as they connected with something deep beneath the earth, ancient memories preserved in stone and bone. Power sleeping for millions of years, now stirring in response to his presence. It almost feels like Sage Mode, but different. Naruto opened his eyes, which now displayed a hybrid appearance. The horizontal pupils of Sage Mode overlaid with a reptilian verticality, blue irises threaded with amber. The natural energy in this world developed differently than in ours, Kurama theorized. Less influenced by the divine tree, more primal. Naruto rose to his feet, channeling this hybrid energy through his body. Scales momentarily flickered across his skin, not the toad-like features of Sage Mode, but something reptilian, iridescent in the morning light. With each movement, the energy responded more fluidly, as though remembering a form long forgotten. He executed a series of taijutsu forms, each motion leaving trails of golden amber energy in the air. The power felt ancient yet familiar, like rediscovering a part of himself he hadn't known was missing. So absorbed was he in this exploration that he didn't notice his audience until a voice broke his concentration. That's not something you see every day. Naruto spun toward the sound, instinctively dropping into a defensive stance before recognizing Kira. She stood at the edge of the clearing, guitar case slung over one shoulder, watching him with undisguised fascination. The scales faded from his skin as his concentration broke, eyes returning to their normal blue. How long have you been standing there? Long enough to see the light show. She approached, studying him with artistic curiosity. You were glowing gold, and for a second, it looked like you had scales. Naruto ran a hand through his spiky blonde hair, suddenly self-conscious. Yeah, I've been experimenting with the energy here. It's compatible with my chakra, but different. It looked beautiful, she said simply, with the straightforward honesty he was learning characterized her speech. Like watching evolution happen in real time. The compliment caught him off guard. In his world, power was respected, feared, or coveted, rarely described as beautiful. Thanks, he managed. It feels strange but natural, if that makes any sense. Perfect sense. Kira set down her guitar case. That's how it felt when I first connected with the yellow Dino gem. Like finding a piece of myself I didn't know was missing. Their eyes met in mutual understanding, a bridge forming between their vastly different experiences. So, Kira continued, changing subjects with practiced ease, drive. Oh, mentioned you. They been having some cultural adjustment issues. Naruto grimaced. That's one way to put it. In my world, I'm one of our strongest ninja. Here, I'm defeated by toasters and automatic doors. Her laugh, unexpectedly melodic, dispelled his embarrassment. Technology's overrated anyway. Half the time I can't get my laptop to connect to Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi. He tested the unfamiliar word. And that's exactly why I'm here. Kira gestured toward the road where her yellow car waited. I figured you might want to see Reefside properly, without monsters or dimensional rifts interrupting the tour. The prospect of leaving the isolation of Tommy's forest home both appealed and intimidated. As that's safe. I'm not exactly inconspicuous. He gestured to his orange and black outfit, which stood out starkly against Reefside's fashion norms. Already handled. Kira retrieved a shopping bag from her car. Ethan and I picked these up yesterday. Nothing fancy, but it should help you blend in better than whatever your ninja uniform is called. It's not a uniform, Naruto protested weakly, accepting the bag. Orange is just my color. Well, today your color is normal teenager, she countered with a smirk. Go change and we'll head into town. 20 minutes later, Naruto emerged from the house feeling oddly vulnerable without his customary attire. The jeans felt restrictive compared to his shinobi pants, though the plain black t-shirt was comfortable enough. He'd drawn the line at removing his headband, compromising by wearing it around his neck instead of his forehead. Kira appraised him with a critical eye. Not bad. You almost look like you belong in this century. I feel like a civilian, he grumbled, tugging at the unfamiliar fabric. That's kind of the point. She opened her car door. Come on, ninja boy. Let's introduce you to the 21st century. The drive into Reefside provided Naruto with his first real opportunity to observe this world at a pace that didn't involve running for his life or fighting monsters. The landscape transitioned from forest to suburbs to urban center, each environment triggering questions that Kira answered with patient amusement. So everyone has these vehicles. Not just wealthy people or officials. Most adults do. They're pretty essential for getting around, especially in smaller cities like Reefside. And they run on processed dinosaurs. Kira nearly swerved at that question before bursting into laughter. Okay, who told you that? Ethan said cars run on fossil fuels, which are made from prehistoric creatures and plants. Well, technically true, but, she shook her head, still smiling. You know what? That's actually a pretty accurate way to think about it. Their first stop was a cafe in downtown Reefside. A place Kira described as neutral territory, where Naruto could observe modern social interactions without too much pressure to participate. They claimed a corner table that afforded a view of both the street and the interior. So in your world, Kira began after ordering for both of them, you're basically a super soldier, right? Naruto considered this characterization. Not exactly. Shinobi are more versatile. We're soldiers when needed, but also intelligence gatherers, escorts, sometimes even construction workers or babysitters. Babysitters. Her eyebrows rose incredulously. My first D-rank missions were finding lost pets and weeding gardens, he confirmed with a nostalgic smile. You start small and work your way up to the world-saving stuff. Huh. Kira leaned back, fingers drumming absently on the table in a rhythm he'd noticed she often fell into, a musician's habit. And where did you fall in the hierarchy? Before the dimensional trip, I mean. The question was casual, but Naruto recognized genuine interest behind it. He found himself wanting to give her a real answer, not the abbreviated version he'd provided to Tommy and the others. I was complicated. Officially, I only recently made Jonin. That's the elite rank below special operatives and the Hokage, our leader. But unofficially, He paused, uncertain how to explain his unique status without sounding boastful. You're the big hero who saved everyone, Kira supplied, surprising him. Dr. O did some energy readings. Whatever power you're carrying, it's off the charts. And you don't str. Like me is the type who gets that kind of power without paying some serious dues. Naruto studied her, reassessing. Behind the artistic exterior and casual demeanor lay a perceptive mind that missed little. You're right, he acknowledged. I helped end the 4th grade ninja war. People started calling me a hero, but it doesn't feel earned when so many didn't survive to see peace. The waitress arrived with their order, coffee for Kira and a hot chocolate for Naruto, who'd made his opinion of coffee abundantly clear, along with pastries. Kira waited until they were alone again before responding. The survivor's guilt never really goes away, does it? Her tone carried personal knowledge of such feelings. You've been there. She shrugged, a gesture too casual to match the shadow in her eyes. Not on your scale, but yeah. Rangers lose people too. They sipped their drinks in companionable silence, each respecting the other's unspoken memories. Outside, Reefside continued its normal rhythm. Citizens unaware of the dimensional visitor in their midst are the monsters that occasionally threatened their reality. It's strange, Naruto finally said, how normal everything looks. In my world, villages are built with defense in mind. Walls, guard posts, evacuation routes. Here, it's all open. Most people here have the luxury of not knowing what's really out there, Kira replied. They see monster attacks on the news. But the Rangers handle it, and life goes back to normal. It's a kind of collective denial. Must be nice, he murmured, that innocence. Sometimes I envy them, she admitted. Other times, you can't imagine going back to not knowing, he finished for her. Their eyes met in another moment of unexpected connection. Despite their vastly different origins, certain experiences transcended worlds. The weight of responsibility, the knowledge of threats others couldn't comprehend, the isolation that came with power and purpose. The moment was Interu, PTED by Kira's communicator chiming softly. She checked it discreetly. Haley wants us at the lab. She's found something about the rift energy. The Dino lab beneath Tommy's house hummed with activity when they arrived. Haley sat at the central computer array, lines of code and energy readings streaming across multiple screens. Tommy stood behind her, while Connor and Ethan occupied other workstations. Perfect timing. Haley greeted them without looking away from her monitors. I've isolated the frequency pattern of the dimensional rift. Naruto approached, studying the unfamiliar displays with interest. Despite his technological inexperience, the visualized energy patterns resonated with his sensory abilities. The amber patterns, he noted, pointing to oscillating lines on one screen. Those match what I've been feeling when I meditate. Haley nodded, finally turning to face him. Exactly. The rift isn't just connecting our worlds, it's activating something dormant in yours. Look at this. She brought up a split-screen display. On one side, readings from the dimensional rift. On the other, scans of Naruto's chakra from when they'd first examined him. Your energy signature contains harmonic frequencies that match the rift exactly, she explained. But not just yours. The dinosaur DNA that powers the Ranger's abilities shares these same frequencies. Which suggests what, exactly? Tommy asked. A common origin, Haley replied. Something primordial that exists in both dimensions but evolved differently in each. Naruto felt Kurama stirring within his mindscape. The Sage of Six Paths once spoke of energy that predated chakra itself, ***, the fox commented internally. Even he knew little about it, only that it came from a time when giant beasts ruled the world. In my world, Naruto shared aloud, we have legends of a time before chakra, when the world was ruled by enormous creatures. Our earliest chakra users described connecting with natural energy that retained memories of these ancient beasts. Dinosaurs, Ethan interjected excitedly. Your world's legends are talking about dinosaurs. It would explain the resonance, Tommy mused. The dino gems contain the essence of dinosaur species that existed millions of years ago. If a similar power exists in Naruto's dimension, then the dimensional rift isn't random, Kira concluded. It's connecting points where this primordial energy exists in both worlds. Haley nodded. And that's not all. The energy readings from Naruto have been changing since he arrived. The Dinosa, energy is integrating with his chakra system, creating something new. All eyes turned to Naruto, who shifted uncomfortably under their scrutiny. I've noticed changes when I train, he admitted. My chakra sometimes manifests differently, and I can sense things beneath the earth, old things, preserved in stone. Fossils, Tommy explained. You're sensing dinosaur fossils. There's more, Haley continued, bringing up a new display, a three-dimensional model of reefside with pulsing points of light. I've detected 3 additional weak points forming between our dimensions. They're not open rifts yet, but they're growing stronger, which means we might be facing more than one rift soon, Connor summarized grimly. Great, because one wasn't enough trouble. Can we stabilize them preemptively? Tommy asked. Haley's expression grew serious. Theoretically, yes, but we'd need a focal point, something that can channel both types of energy simultaneously to create stable bridges rather than chaotic tiers. Or someone, Kira suggested quietly, looking at Naruto. An uncomfortable silence fell over the lab as the implications became clear. You think I could stabilize these rifts? Naruto questioned. I barely understand what's happening to my own chakra. Your energy is already adapting, Haley pointed out. The readings suggest you're naturally becoming a conduit between our world's energy systems. If we could accelerate and control that process, we might be able to prevent catastrophic dimensional collapse, Tommy finished. But it would mean fully embracing the changes happening to you, Naruto. We don't know exactly what that would entail. The weight of their expectation pressed on Naruto like a physical force. Once again, circumstances had placed him at the center of a crisis. His unique abilities making him both cause and potential solution. They speak of you becoming a bridge between worlds, Kurama observed within their shared consciousness. A fitting role for one who has bridged so many divides in our own world. I need time to think about this, Naruto said finally. Tommy nodded understanding. Of course, this isn't a decision to make lightly. The tension was broken by alarm klaxons suddenly blaring throughout the lab. Haley immediately turned to her monitors, fingers flying across the keyboard. Tyrannodrones downtown, she reported. And they've got company. Those weird chakra signatures are back, stronger than before. The Rangers exchanged determined glances. We'll handle this, Connor stated confidently. You stay here, Naruto. Figure things out. No, Naruto countered firmly. Whatever's happening to me is connected to all this. I'm coming with you. No one argued, either recognizing the logic of his position or respecting the steel in his voice. Let's move, Tommy directed, leading the way to the Rangers' vehicles. Downtown Reefside had been transformed into a battleground. Enhanced Tyrannodrones rampaged through the commercial district, their bodies pulsing with corrupted chakra that left scorched patterns on everything they touched. Citizens fled in panic as storefront windows shattered and cars overturned in their wake. The Rangers arrived to find a familiar figure overseeing the chaos, Elsa, Mesogog's black leather-clad lieutenant. She directed the Tyrannodrones with calculated precision, her sword occasionally channeling bursts of the same dark energy that empowered the foot soldiers. Rangers, she acknowledged coldly as they approached. Right on schedule. Whatever you're planning, Elsa, it ends now, Tommy declared. Dino Thunder, power up. The transformation sequence enveloped all 4 Rangers, their civilian forms replaced by their armored personas in flashes of colored light. Naruto watched with newfound appreciation, his enhanced senses detecting the complex energy patterns of the morphing process. Impressive light show, Elsa mocked. But today's entertainment features some special effects you haven't seen before. She raised her sword, which now glowed with sigils Naruto recognized with alarm, chakra sealing formulae similar to those used in his world. But corrupted and twisted into unnatural configurations. Rangers, be careful, he warned. Those markings are designed to disrupt energy flow. Elsa's gaze shifted to him, eyes narrowing with recognition. The dimensional anomaly. Lord Mesogog will be pleased when I deliver you to him for study. You can try, Naruto replied, dropping into a fighting stance. The battle erupted across the plaza. The Rangers engaged the enhanced Tyrannodrones while Naruto focused on Elsa, recognizing her as the greater threat due to her weaponized sealing techniques. Your master is playing with forces he doesn't understand. Naruto called to her as he dodged a slash from her energized sword. On the contrary, she countered, movements fluid and precise. Lord Mesogog understands the power of chakra quite well. Thanks to our new ally. The question is whether you understand the changes happening to you. Her words struck uncomfortably close to Naruto's earlier doubts. He narrowed his eyes, creating shadow clones that circled Elsa from multiple angles. What do you know about it? He demanded. Elsa smiled coldly, dispatching 2 clones with efficient strikes. I know that Primo, RDIAL dinosaur energy runs through these lands like invisible rivers. I know it responds to certain catalysts. Her sword slashed through another clone. And I know you're becoming something neither human nor shinobi. Nearby, the Rangers fought with their characteristic teamwork, but the enhanced Tyrannodrones presented significant challenges. Hira found herself surrounded, her Terra Grips SL, icing through enemies that regenerated their wounds with disturbing speed. These things are tougher than last time, she called out, executing a backflip to avoid clawed hands reaching for her. Aim for the chakra nodes, Naruto shouted between exchanges with Elsa. The glowing points where their energy concentrates. Hira adjusted her strategy, targeting the pulsing nodes visible on the Tyrannodrones' bodies. The creatures shrieked when struck in these locations, their regenerative abilities faltering. It's working, she confirmed, dispatching opponents with newfound efficiency. Across the plaza, Connor and Ethan implemented similar tactics with their weapons, while Tommy engaged a larger group with his brachio staff. The tide of battle seemed to be turning in their favor, until Elsa executed her true plan. Now, she commanded, driving her sword into the ground at the center of the plaza. The corrupted chakra seals on her blade flared brilliantly, sending energy coursing through the pavement in geometric patterns. The ground trembled as a familiar iridescent tear began forming in the air above, another dimensional rift, but unstable and chaotic, forcibly torn open rather than naturally forming. What have you done? Tommy demanded, recognizing the danger immediately. Created a doorway, Elsa replied with dark satisfaction. One that Lord Mesogog can use to access the primordial power directly. The rift pulsed erratically, reality warping around its edges. Unlike the stabilized rift they had contained earlier, this one fluctuated wildly, sending shock waves of dimensional energy across the plaza that disrupted both Ranger's powers and Naruto's chakra alike. It's collapsing already. Haley's voice came urgently through the Ranger's communicators. That fort was forced open without proper stabilization. If it collapses completely, both dimensions could be severely damaged, Tommy finished grimly. We need to stabilize it, fast. Naruto stared at the chaotic rift, feeling its discordant energies pulling at him like a physical force. The primordial power that had been integrating with his chakra responded to the dimensional tear, resonating painfully within his body. This is what they were preparing for. Kurama growled inside him. Using you as a focal point for controlled dimensional breaching. But they rushed it, forced it open prematurely. The instability could tear you apart if you try to contain it now. Do I have a choice? Naruto replied internally. If that thing collapses, countless people in both worlds could die. The fox was silent for a moment. Then we do this together, as always. Full synchronization. Naruto nodded, decision made. Rangers, he called out. Keep Elsa and her forces busy. I'm going to try stabilizing the rift. That's suicide in its current state. Tommy objected. The energy fluctuations are too extreme. Trust me, Naruto replied, eyes shifting to their Sage Mode configuration. This is kind of my specialty. Before further protests could be made, Naruto approached the rift, hands forming the familiar seal that enhanced his connection to Kurama. Golden chakra flared arrow, wound him as he entered his perfected Jinchuriki form, the energy radiating in patterns reminiscent of flames. Elsa, recognizing the threat to her plan, broke away from her battle with the Rangers. Stop him, she commanded the remaining Tyrannodrones, who converged on Naruto's position. Hira intercepted them with a determination that surprised even her teammates, her Terra Scream creating a defensive perimeter around Naruto. Whatever you're doing, she called to him, do it fast. Naruto stood directly beneath the chaotic rift, extending his senses into the dimensional tier. Unlike the previous rift, this one felt wrong, forcibly created, its energies clashing rather than merging. Stabilizing it would require more than just containing the chaos. He would need to harmonize fundamentally opposed forces. Begin with natural energy, ****, Kurama advised. The sage mode that connects to both worlds. Naruto deepened his meditative state while maintaining his physical position, drawn. In natural energy that responded differently here than in his home dimension. Instead of the balanced energy of his world, he felt ancient power rising from deep beneath the earth, primal, reptilian. Alive despite being preserved in stone for millions of years. As this energy merged with his chakra and Kurama's, something unexpected happened. The golden aura surrounding him shifted, taking on an amber-green iridescence. Scales appeared along his arms and face, not as a corruption but as an evolution, his body adapting to channel the primordial power. What's happening to him? Connor asked, momentarily distracted from his battle. He's changing, Tommy observed with scientific fascination. Adapting to become the conduit between energy types. The transformation continued as Naruto raised his hands toward the rift. The chaotic dimensional tear responded to his presence, its erratic fluctuations gradually synchronizing with the pulses of his modified chakra. But the process was tacky. In a physical toll, his body strained to contain the competing energies, muscles tensing as pain coursed through him. It's fighting me, he managed through gritted teeth. Too unstable, he needs help, Hira realized suddenly. He needs our dinosaur energy to complete the connection. Without waiting for confirmation, she moved to Naruto's side, placing a hand on his shoulder. Her yellow Dino gem responded immediately. Power flowing through the contact point to join with his hybrid chakra. Hira, what are you doing? Ethan called out in alarm. The right thing, she responded simply. Rangers, form a circle. Channel your dinosaur powers through him. Tommy understood first, recognizing the logic of her insight. She's right. Our Dino gems are stable manifestations of the same primordial energy he's trying to control. Quote, the four rangers positioned themselves around Naruto, each placing a hand on him. Hira at his right, Tommy at his left, Connor and Ethan completing the circle. Their Dino gems glowed brilliantly as they channeled power into Naruto's transforming body. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The chaotic energies that had been fighting Naruto's control suddenly harmonized, finding resonance with the dinosaur power flowing through him. The rift's erratic pulses stabilized into a steady rhythm, its edges becoming defined rather than chaotically frayed. But something else was happening as well. The combined energies flowing through Naruto triggered a deeper transformation, the primordial dinosaur power fully integrating with his chakra system, awakening. Something that had lain dormant since the dawn of time. Elsa, recognizing her plan was failing, made a desperate move. This ends now, she declared, charging forward with her corrupted sword raised. Hira saw the threat but couldn't break the energy circle without jeopardizing the rift stabilization. Naruto, she warned. Within Naruto's mindscape, a new awareness blossomed, ancient, powerful, yet somehow familiar. It resonated with Kurama's chakra not as an intrusion but as a counterpart, the primordial beast energy recognizing the primordial tailed beast. This power, Kurama murmured with uncharacteristic awe. It's the original source. What existed before the sage, before the divine tree? The first chakra. As Elsa's blade descended toward Naruto's exposed back, a surge of transformation energy exploded outward. The Rangers were thrown backward by the force, though their power connection remained intact through the Dino gems. Where Naruto had stood, a new figure emerged, armored in scales of deep crimson and gold, with elements reminiscent of both his Jinchuriki form and dinosaur characteristics. Elsa's sword struck this transformed being and shattered on contact, fragments dispersing into energy that was absorbed into the armor itself. She staggered backward, eyes wide with shock. What are you? She demanded. The figure turned, revealing a helmet that combined elements of a traditional ranger design with characteristics of ancient dragons and foxes. When he spoke, the voice was Naruto's, yet layered with something older, deeper. I am the bridge between worlds, he declared. The guardian of the primal source. I am the Dragon Ranger. The newly transformed Naruto, the primal Dragon Ranger, moved with impossible speed, appearing before Elsa faster than eyes could track. One armored hand grasped her sword arm with gentle but irresistible strength. Your master plays with forces beyond his understanding, he stated calmly. The primordial energy is not a tool to be exploited, it's the foundation of life itself. With his free hand, he touched the center of her chest, directly over her heart. Gold-amber energy pulsed from the contact point, spreading throughout her body. Elsa gasped, eyes widening as corrupted chakra was purged from her system, replaced by balanced energy that resonated with her true nature rather than Mesogog's corrupting influence. What did you do to me? She whispered, confusion replacing malice in her expression. I restored what was taken from you, the Dragon Ranger replied. The choice of what to do with yourself now is yours alone. He released her arm and turned back to the dimensional rift, which now hung stable but still open in the air above. Raising both hands, the Dragon Ranger channeled energy into the tear, not to close it, but to transform it from a chaotic breach into a regulated portal. With this connection stabilized, he explained to the astonished Rangers, both worlds remain separate but accessible. The natural flow of primordial energy can continue without disruption. The task completed, the Dragon Ranger lowered his arms and turned to face his allies. The transformation began to recede, scales and armor dissolving into particles of light that were reabsorbed into Naruto's body. When the process completed, he stood before them in his normal form, though subtle NGES remained, a streak of amber in his blonde hair, eyes that held a hint of reptilian characteristics alongside their natural blue. Naruto. Hira approached cautiously. Are you? He smiled, the familiar expression reassuring despite his altered appearance. Yeah, just more, somehow. Before further conversation could occur, Naruto's legs gave way beneath him. Hira lunged forward, catching him before he hit the ground. The energy expenditure had clearly taken a massive toll on his body. We need to get him back to the lab, Tommy directed, moving to help support Naruto's semi-conscious form. And figure out exactly what just happened. As they prepared to leave, they noticed Elsa standing apart, watching them with confusion rather than hostility. The purging of corrupted chakra had left her disoriented, caught between her programmed loyalty to Mesogog and newly awakened awareness. What about her? Connor asked, nodding toward Mesogog's lieutenant. Tommy studied Elsa thoughtfully. She comes with us. Whatever Naruto did to her, she's not the same enemy we knew before. Dreams of ancient jungles filled Naruto's unconscious mind, massive scaled beasts moving prehistoric grace through primeval forests, the earth young and raw with volcanic activity, the air rich with oxygen that sustained giants. But these weren't ordinary dreams, they carried the weight of memories. Experiences preserved in the primordial energy he had embraced. He observed a massive creature, neither dinosaur nor dragon but something between, nesting atop an active volcano, drawing power from the Earth's molten core. This beast, he somehow knew, was the original wielder of the power now flowing through him, a guardian of the primal world before time was measured. The primal dragon, a voice explained, not Kurama's familiar growl, but something equally ancient. The first to channel the energy that would become chakra in your world and morphing energy in this one. Naruto turned within the dreamscape to find a spectral form watching him, reptilian yet intelligent, its scales shifting between amber and gold in patterns that matched his transformed state. Who are you? Naruto asked, though part of him already knew the answer. I am what remains of the original consciousness, preserved in the primordial energy that connects all realities where life exists. You have awakened me by becoming the bridge between worlds. The Dragon Ranger transformation, Naruto realized. That was your power. The spectral dragon circled him, evaluating. It was always your potential. All living beings carry fragments of the original energy within them, but few can access it. In your world, it evolved into what you call chakra. In this world, it remained closer to its original form, preserved in the remains of the ancient ones you call dinosaurs. Why me? Naruto questioned, the familiar burden of special destiny weighing on him once again. Why was I pulled through the dimensional rift? The dragon's ethereal form settled before him. Because you already bridged the gap between human and tailed beast. Your ability to harmonize opposing energies is unique across dimensions. The rift did not choose you randomly, it responded to what you already were. Before Naruto could ask more questions, the dreamscape began to fade, reality intruding upon the ancient memories. Remember, the dragon's voice echoed as consciousness returned, you are not merely borrowing this power, you are its chosen vessel in this age. Use it wisely, Primal Dragon Ranger. Naruto awoke to the now familiar ceiling of Tommy's guest room, his body aching as though he'd fought a week-long battle. Turning his head required effort, but he managed it to fly. Kira dozing in a chair beside his bed, her guitar leaning against the wall nearby. A half-finished composition rested on her lap, notes and lyrics scribbled in handwriting that managed to be both chaotic and artistic. You've been out for 18 hours, she said without opening her eyes, apparently not as asleep as she'd appeared. Had us worried there for a while. Naruto attempted to sit up, muscles protesting the movement. What happened after I changed? Kira opened her eyes, studying him with a gaze that seemed to catalog the subtle differences in his appearance. Well, you turned into some kind of dragon dinosaur ninja Power Ranger hybrid, stabilized a dimensional rift that should have collapsed catastrophically, and somehow deprogrammed Mesogog's most loyal servant. She offered a small smile. Just a typical Tuesday in Reefside. Despite his physical discomfort, Naruto found himself returning her smile. So nothing important, then. Haley's been analyzing the readings non-stop, Kira continued, setting aside her notebook to help him sit up properly. She says your transformation is unlike anything in Ranger history, a completely new access point to the Morphin G-grid that combines elements from both our worlds. The Primal Dragon, Naruto murmured, remembering his dream. Kira's eyebrows rose. You remember the transformation? Not exactly, but I dreamed about it. About the original source of the power. He described the dreamscape and the spectral dragon's message, watching as Kira listened with thoughtful attention. So you're saying the Primo RDIAL dinosaur energy has its own consciousness? She questioned when he finished. One that chose you specifically. More like an imprint of consciousness, Naruto clarified. Like an echo preserved in the energy itself. And it didn't exactly choose me, it recognized something compatible in my chakra signature. Kira nodded slowly, processing this information. That tracks with what Haley found. Your chakra and our dinosaur energy share fundamental harmonic patterns, despite evolving differently. A comfortable silence fell between them as Naruto tested his limbs, assessing his recovery. Though sore, he could feel new strength flowing beneath the fatigue, the primordial energy now permanently integrated with his chakra system, accessible even without full transformation. How's Elsa? He finally asked, remembering the woman whose corrupted energy he had purged. Confused, Kira replied, whatever you did broke Mesogog's control over her. She remembers everything she did as his lieutenant, but claims it felt like watching someone else control her body. The corrupted chakra was acting like a possession technique, Naruto explained. I've seen similar effects before. The real person gets pushed into the background while the invasive energy takes control. She's provided valuable information about Mesogog's operations, Kira added. Though she's still working through some serious identity issues. Apparently, she was someone named Principal Randall before Mesogog transformed her. Naruto winced sympathetically. That's rough. Finding out you've been used as someone else's weapon. He trailed off. Memories of Gaara and other Jinchuriki surfacing. People treated as living weapons rather than individuals, their humanity secondary to the power they contained. Kira seemed to sense the personal connection in his words, reaching out to briefly touch his hand. She'll find her way, she assured him. We're helping her. The door opened to reveal Tommy, who smiled at seeing Naruto awake. Good timing. Haley's just finished her analysis, and I think you'll want to hear this. The Dino Lab's main display showed a rotating three-dimensional model of Naruto's transformed state, the Primal Dragon Ranger in all its detailed glory. Crimson and gold armor incorporated scales and plates reminiscent of ancient dragons, while retaining elements of Naruto's sage mode markings around the helmet's eye area. A stylized emblem adorned the chest, a spiral pattern similar to Naruto's original symbol, but integrated with a dragon motif. It's magnificent, Haley touted without preamble as Naruto studied the image. Completely distinct from traditional Ranger morphing technology, yet compatible with the morphing grid. So I really became a Power Ranger? Naruto asked. The concept still strange to him despite having experienced the transformation. Yes and no, Tommy replied. Rangers typically draw power from specific sources, in our case, the Dino gems. Your transformation accessed the primordial energy that predates even the gems, channeling it through your unique chakra network. The Primal Dragon Ranger, Haley continued, bringing up comparison charts. Based on our readings, your form represents a more direct connection to dinosaur energy than even Tommy's paleontology-based powers. It's as though you've tapped into the very source that eventually led to the morphing grid itself. Connor, leaning against a nearby console, whistled appreciatively. So basically, he out-dinosaured the Dino Rangers. That's one way to put it, Tommy acknowledged with a slight smile. But what's more significant is the effect this transformation had on the dimensional rifts. Haley nodded, changing the display to show a map of Reefside with glowing points marking rift locations. The chaotic tear Elsa created has been stabilized into what I'd describe as a regulated portal. More importantly, the other potential weak points have stopped growing. They're now stable connections rather than impending tears. The dragon in my dreams said I'd become a bridge between worlds, Naruto recalled. Guess that was literal. These stable connections might actually be beneficial, Tommy suggested. They allow the primordial energy to flow naturally between dimensions without causing damage to either reality. And they give you a way home, Kira added quietly. Watching Naruto's reaction, the observation hung in the air, reminding everyone that despite his extraordinary adaptation to their world, Naruto remained a visitor from another dimension. One with responsibilities and connections of his own. Have you tried accessing the transformation again? Ethan asked, changing the subject. Now that you know what triggered it. Naruto shook his head. Not yet. I wanted to understand it better first. Based on the energy readings, Haley explained, the transformation requires a specific harmony between your chakra, Kurama's energy, natural sage energy, and the primordial dinosaur power. All four components need to be in balance. Which explains why it happened when the Rangers were channeling their Dino gem energy through you, Tommy added. They provided the stabilizing factor your system needed to integrate all energy types. So I need their help to transform? Naruto questioned. Initially, perhaps, Haley clarified. Quote, but now that your body has experienced the proper energy configuration once, it should be able to recreate it independently with practice. Naruto nodded thoughtfully, processing this information. The power felt dormant within him now, accessible but quiescent until needed. Unlike some of his other transformations, this one didn't seem to carry negative side effects or risks of losing control, perhaps because it represented harmony rather than dominance of any single energy type. Their discussion was interrupted by alarm klaxons. Haley immediately moved to the monitoring station, fingers flying across controls. Multiple energy signatures downtown, she reported grimly. Mesogog isn't taking Elsa's defection well. The main screen showed footage from city security cameras, a contingent of enhanced tyrannodrones led by a new figure. Humanoid but heavily modified with cybernetic and reptilian components, the creature resembled a walking weapon more than any natural being. Meet Mesogog's newest creation, Tommy explained to Naruto. A cyborg dinosaur hybrid specifically designed to track and extract primordial energy. He's targeting the stable rifts, Haley realized, noting he creature's movement pattern through the city. If he disrupts them in their current state, both our dimensions could suffer catastrophic damage, Tommy finished grimly. Rangers, we need to move. I'm coming too, Naruto stated firmly, already moving toward the exit. No one argued. After witnessing his transformation, they understood that Naruto represented their best defense against Mesogog's dimension-threatening plans. Naruto, Tommy called as the young shinobi reached the door. When Naruto turned, the veteran ranger tossed him a device, a wrist communicator similar to those worn by the team. You're one of us now. Stay connected. The simple gesture of inclusion resonated deeply as Naruto secured the device to his wrist. Whatever complications lay in his future, questions of which world he belonged in, how to manage his new powers, what responsibilities came with being a dimensional bridge, in this moment, he had found allies he could trust in a purpose that transcended worlds. As they raced toward the latest threat, Naruto felt the primordial energy stirring within him, ready to emerge when needed. The Primal Dragon Ranger, a new identity born from the convergence of ancient powers and modern crisis. And somewhere in the space between dimensions, the consciousness of the original primal dragon observed with satisfaction. After millions of years, a worthy successor had finally emerged. Chapter 2 End. The end. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.